Thanks, JB. A crime alert tonight in Richmond where a carjacker is on the loose.
Police say the suspect is armed and held up a 62-year-old man in broad daylight.
Let's show you where it happened. 35th Street here in Church Hill.
8 News reporter Jonathan Costen talked with the victim and has a blow-by-blow description.
He's a tough Vietnam War veteran, and he left the Richmond area about 20 years ago to live in Washington, D.C. He came back into town today to check in on his mom, but he didn't expect he'd have to go toe-to-toe with a carjacker.
He had a gun. We got the fire. We got the rap. We got the tucking when he hit me, you know.
You get any licks in?
Yeah, I got fruit in. You see him, he jumped, he ain't mess with me no more. He kept trying to go in my pockets.
While in town to visit his mom, Charlie Brown also decided to drop in on an old friend here on North 35th Street this morning, and
next thing I know, dude come running to my, running on the side of me and holler, "Give me your money, old man, give me your money," and stuck a gun in my face.
Brown says that's when he and the gunman started fighting. He has a shiner under his left eye to show for it. Eventually, the suspect got the keys and got away with Brown's car. But he didn't get far. The robber unloaded the car in this nearby alleyway a few blocks away.
Man, I still back here with my car.
Now Brown has to wait for a locksmith and shell out more than $300 to get a duplicate key so he can go back home to Washington, D.C.
It's crazy everywhere now. Everywhere. You know, just thank God that I ain't get hurt. Yeah. You know what I mean? They didn't take nothing from me but my keys.
In Richmond, Jonathan Costen, 8 News.
Mr. Brown quite scrappy this morning in Norfolk. Carjackers who discovered an 8-year-old boy in their car. Know where it is tonight. Call Crime Stoppers.
New details on a violent carjacking in Richmond in broad daylight.
8 News reporter Jonathan Costen has details from a very scrappy victim.
No, I ain't nervous, you know, but like I said, we got the fire, you know, I was protecting myself.
62-year-old Charlie Brown is in Richmond to check on his mom. But while in town around 10:30 this morning, he decided to visit a friend here on North 35th Street.
Next thing I know, dude come running to my, running on the side of me and holler, "Give me your money, old man, give me your money," and stuck a gun in my face.
Eventually, the robber did get the car, and he unloaded it in this nearby alleyway not too far away from where he confronted Charlie Brown. But the robber probably didn't know what he was up against when he confronted Brown. You see, Brown is a tough Vietnam War veteran, and he decided to go toe-to-toe with the suspect.
He had a gun. We got the fire. We got the rap. We got the tucking when he hit me, you know.
You get any licks in?
Yeah, I got fruit in.
The robber did eventually get the car.
He pulled my shirt over my head and snatched the key and jumped in my car and pulled off. I called the police. Man, I still back here with my car.
Brown will have to shell out more than $300 for a locksmith to get a key made for his car so he can get back home to D.C. But despite having a shiner under his eye, Brown says he realizes he's fortunate to be alive.
Just thank God that I ain't get hurt. You know what I mean? They didn't take nothing from me but my keys.
In Richmond, Jonathan Costen, 8 News.
News where you live in Chesterfield, a student.
Tonight, we'll show you a unique path to happiness. But to get it, you'll have to give up most of your worldly possessions.
Could you do it? Our 8 News reporter Jonathan Costen takes us to a community in Louisa where people are living the simple life.
Well, the reasons I came here were for ideology, because I wanted to live a simpler life.
This is Keenan Dakota. In 1983, he gave up living in mainstream society for a life in a commune, an egalitarian community in Twin Oaks.
But the things that have kept me here are different. Like, it's a great place to raise kids. I like to work. I like to work with my hands. I like to build things. And I think that's true for a lot of people who live here.
Meet Tom Freeman. He moved to Twin Oaks 20 years ago, a former lab technician and a William & Mary graduate.
Oh, I was a young Republican. I'm still very conservative. For me, it's mostly a sense of, I take a pragmatic approach.
It was a college friend named Danielle who convinced Tom to live here. Danielle died of cancer in her 30s. She's buried here in the Twin Oaks Cemetery.
And she kept telling me about Twin Oaks, and I was like, oh, hippies in the woods singing Kumbaya. It's not really my speed. And she kept telling me, like, no, Twin Oaks is more than that.
It certainly is. It's a group of shrewd business people who started living together nearly 50 years ago on a few acres of property selling hammocks. Now they own nearly 500 acres of land. We'll get back to those famous hammocks in a moment, but first you must understand the people who live here believe in sharing their income, and by living together, they say they consume less. They grow most of their own food and have livestock for meat and dairy. They also have a fleet of 13 cars.
We have 7 houses, 7 kitchens, 7 stoves, 7 toasters, 7 microwaves.
Don't stereotype them as hippies, even though some people here identify themselves as hippies.
But it's not all about, doing crazy hippie stuff, wearing your hair long, wearing flowing skirts and dancing to the Grateful Dead. It's not like that at all.
They live in a commune, so they must be communists, right?
And even the term communist, I mean, like, when you think of communist, you think of places like Soviet Union and stuff, and that's kind of oppressive. I mean, it's the opposite of what we are.
They vote in elections and they use capitalism to live the way they do. From the Twin Oaks businesses, each adult's taxable income is equal to about $7,000 a year, and that money goes into a common pot to pay for everything at the community. However, members do get a monthly allowance of about $103, and they say all their needs are met, from medical to dental.
We live outside a lot. We walk around a lot outside. We eat well. We don't have as much stresses. We're not stressing mortgages. We're not stressing whether they're going to be fired or not. We're not stressing if we can provide for our children.
The big trade-off is you will live at Twin Oaks. Anybody living at Twin Oaks will never, ever be poor. You will also never, ever be rich.
And what about crime?
There is no crime. Everybody has what they need. I mean, if you give people what they need, they don't steal stuff.
People here share the work. This fellow is a professional computer programmer, but now he's a woodworker.
None of us come here knowing how to do the stuff we do. We're all city kids. And most of us are like, college-educated, white kids from the middle-class suburbs, and we come out here, and then we live in the woods.
Everyone here selects his or her own job, and they must work around 40 hours a week on an honor system. Their warehouses are full with food. Their homes are warm and cozy. Their needs are all met here. A midwife comes here to help with births, and a hospice was built here so people can die. So how do they support themselves? For 30 years, this popular store sold Twin Oaks hammocks, and that's how they were able to build and buy land.
We ran some very successful businesses and deal with big-name players in industries and make millions of dollars.
But when Pier 1 Imports pulled the plug on the hammocks a decade ago, Twin Oaks had to change its game plan.
This is basic rug yarn with UV inhibitors in it.
Of course, they kept making their famous hammocks, but the folks here started to use soybeans to sell tofu, products neatly packaged and wrapped that you probably buy in area supermarkets like this one on Gaskins Road. So how do you become a member of Twin Oaks? Well, there is an application process, but there's a waiting list. You see, 91 adults live here, as well as 15 children. You see, Twin Oaks community has become so popular that it's helped spawn 2 other egalitarian communities nearby. Acorn is 7 miles away with 21 people, and Living Energy Farms is also in Louisa County with 4 to 5 people. We're told these people live totally off the grid. Twin Oaks does not.
We are not off the grid. I mean, it's a goal of ours. We have solar panels, and but we still get a lot of our power from the power company. We don't have commercial TV, but around the edges of that, people have their own computers and they watch things online, and a couple of people have Netflix accounts.
The folks here want to create their own utopia.
I think the longer I'm here, the less suited I am to being out in the mainstream, because I don't put up with having a boss. I just sort of set my own schedule, work when I want to work, take a nap when I want to take a nap.
We earn our money, we pay our taxes, and we just want to live our lives.
Oh, Juan and Christina, I know what you're thinking. Before you tell the boss you want to trade in the anchor desk to sell tofu and hammocks, now remember, there is a waiting list. Now, after you get past the waiting list, you have to intern there for about 3 weeks. And then you go through a grueling interview process because they want to make sure you get along with folks. And then you have to get along with folks because you're living in tight quarters.
Wow, and the children are actually raised there as well.
Yeah, they're raised there. They say they're just like you and me. They send their kids to school or they homeschool their kids. And now listen to this. Now, a lot of their children, they even travel the world extensively. And so, and just think of this, they don't have to worry about childcare because they could attend all their children's functions. And when they attend their children's functions, that applies to their 40-hour work week.
Really?
Yeah.
Not long ago, a lot of people used to live like
That's
this.
true.
Exactly. You guys signing up?
Very interesting.
We'll let you know
Well,
about that,
yeah.
Jonathan, although it is cool.
That is. All right. Thank you for that.
Interesting. All right, moving on. If winter was this him to 2 life sentences. Dogfighting is suspected in the case of an animal found so badly injured it had to be put down.
And tonight, the search is on for anyone who may know what happened to that dog. Our 8 News reporter Jonathan Costen is working this story from Richmond.
First, though, we should warn you, the story and its images may be disturbing.
I hate it.
Why? Why?
Because, it's cruelty, man. It's just cruelty. It's a shame.
George Brown is beside himself. I showed him a photo of a pit bull dog that was found in his neighborhood, badly abused. Authorities say the dog was probably used for dog fighting.
Well, they train them, you know, to fight, to profit. And whoever do this need to be prosecuted. Point blank, there's no excuse.
Authorities rescued the dog from a home here somewhere on X Street in Richmond.
Came in as a stray dog found in someone's yard, and they know nothing about where it came from. They don't know anything about anything.
Christy Chips Peter says the dog was taken to an emergency vet, but nothing could be done to save the animal.
Filled with maggots, an injury that we try very hard to save every single animal that we possibly can. Money is not an issue. We will privately raise whatever we need to save a life. And the vets were like, it's not, we can't save him. He's past the point of no return.
Authorities say they're closing in on some possible suspects, but they need more tips from the neighborhood. Brown hopes they find the suspects sooner than later.
That could have made somebody a nice pet, you know, a kid or something, a nice pet. You know, I'm a dog lover.
You and me both.
Yeah, I think it's a shame.
Well, there's a full-blown investigation to find out what happened to the dog, and anyone with information could get a cash reward up to $5,000 from the Humane Society, and you can remain anonymous. Just call Animal Care and Control at 646-5573. Jonathan Costen, 8 News.
Just in tonight, we begin tonight with dog fighting suspected in the case of a dog that was so badly injured it had to be put down. Tonight, the search is on for anyone who may know what happened to the animal. 8 News reporter Jonathan Costen is in now with the details on this sad story. Jonathan?
Hey, Juan, authorities believe they may be closing in on possible suspects, but they still need help from people in the community who may know something about this case. But first, the images in the story may be disturbing.
The dog is somewhat familiar to me.
Jim Menard is an animal lover. He's rescued 4 cats as well as his 2 friends, Windsor and Duchess. I showed him a picture of a pit bull dog that was found in his neighborhood, badly abused and injured. Authorities say most likely from dog fighting.
I don't believe in fighting dogs at all.
How does this make you feel?
That makes me feel very sad for the dog, for the owners, for the people that have to go watch it. I just can't see spending money to do that.
Authorities found the mangled dog somewhere on Richmond's X Street.
Came in as a stray dog found in someone's yard, and they know nothing about where it came from. They don't know anything about anything.
The dog was taken to an emergency vet, but we're told he had so many injuries, fresh and old, some of them even filled with maggots. The dog couldn't be saved. He was euthanized. Authorities are investigating.
We've had quite a lot of complaints, a little tips of information about dog fighting, some animal abuse that is happening within that area. He is the second dog that we have pulled, which might point us to a dog fighting situation within the past month from that same area. Something is going on, and someone knows what's going on, and we just need to find that someone.
A shaken animal lover finds relief that the dog is put out of his misery.
That is sad, but maybe it's better for the dog if it was in pain.
Well, anyone with information may get a cash reward up to $5,000 from the Humane Society, and you can remain anonymous. Just call Animal Care and Control at 646-5573. Jonathan Costen, 8 News.
News where you live now in Richmond.
When you're down on your luck, it can be hard to find a job. And a few months ago, a Richmond police officer asked someone why he kept getting locked up.
Our 8 News reporter Jonathan Costen says the response prompted the officer to volunteer his time to help one person at a time.
I was sick of arresting the same people over and over.
Ray Perez has been on the Richmond Police Department for 8 years. He explains why he started this program called Bridging the Gap, one human at a time.
You want to sound what? You want to sound confident, right?
He teaches at Richmond's Mosby Court community.
It's your time to sell yourself.
It's geared to show people how to get a job.
What about transportation? How's that looking?
And above all, how to keep a job.
I will be at work. I will be on time.
Perez got the idea after he asked someone he arrested simply, why does he keep getting arrested? And he said,
I can't get a job. I can't, I made mistakes in the past, and no one will hire me. They won't give me an opportunity. So how am I supposed to come out here and put a roof over my kid's head and support my kids and, support my family if I don't have a job?
Jeffrey Perry knows how tough it is to find a job. He got out of prison 2 months ago after serving 18 years.
And I understand why the recidivism is the way that it is.
But Perez helped him find a job. He just started this week.
It was because of him I'm working. So this has been my first complete week. So I called him up, and he was like, man, I got a job for you.
And thanks to Perez, Kelly Lee also got a job just when he really needed one.
See, I don't know how it happened. We just became like the best of friends. Just, right now I'm kind of emotional, but
employment came just in time.
He got me this job, and at the time when I really needed it, because they was planning on trying to lock me up for child support. All I do is thank him every time I see him. Man, thank you. Call him up, man, thank you.
Overall, good job. Thank you.
Well, Juan and Christine, we could use some feel-good news tonight now.
Yes.
Press started this program about 4 months ago, and he already has 15 students. Graduations December 1st.
That's fantastic.
Wow.
So he's doing this in his free time?
On his own dime. And you can tell the students are loyal and they're faithful. They love this guy.
Yeah, that one fella even tearing up. He's so grateful. Now, what
Exactly.
about the employers? Where does he find these folks?
Well, he meets them. Perez meets the employers on his beat, of course. Now, if you know of any potential employers, he would love to hear from them, of course. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Jonathan.
We turn now to the 8 News Storm Tracker weekends.
We want to go back out live now to that breaking news. A police officer shot in Carytown.
Let's go to 8 News reporter Jonathan Costen, who's live at the scene with breaking details for us. Jonathan?
That's right, Juan. Right now we're at the intersection of Cary here in the Carytown area, and we're told that an officer was shot. Fortunately, the injury is non-life threatening. We're told that the officer was shot in the arm and he was rushed to MCV. But if you look over my right shoulder, you'll see that a bunch of folks starting to gather. We're told by some of the residents out here that they heard more than one gunshot. Where you see the yellow crime scene tape, one resident out here told us that they chased the suspect in that area. There was some type of pursuit in that area, and that apparently is where the officer was shot. We do not know the circumstance of the situation with the suspect, whether or not they're looking for a suspect or not. We do not know. We just arrived here, but we did talk to some of the folks out here, and once again they said they heard more than one shot, and there was some type of pursuit in that area where I showed you in that little alleyway right behind me. Of course, we'll have more information as that information becomes available. Reporting live, Jonathan Costen, 8 News.
Thank you, Jonathan. We look forward to another live report in just a few moments. It is confirmed. At the very least, they are eyesores, and at worst, they can hurt your property value and endanger your safety. We're talking about vacant homes and buildings. There are nearly 2,000 of them in the city of Richmond.
And we found it's not that easy to get rid of them. 8 News reporter Jonathan Costen investigates.
This is a story about an old vacant house, and from the looks of it, you can tell that once upon a time it was a handsome home with a great deal of architectural detail. But over the years, owners neglected this stately house, and it began to fall apart. It's tightly wedged between two other houses here on North 24th Street. Rashina Cotman owns one of them, and she says the house has been vacant as long as she's lived here.
I feel like I'm in danger because I feel like the house might just fall down, and I have 4 kids, so they could be injured.
The house is slated to be demolished by the city, and that's good news.
Absolutely.
Why?
To bring up my property value, for one. To make sure that we're safe, too.
Longtime Richmond resident Helen Oliver has lived near this eyesore on 23rd Street for years. She has pride in her own home and in her neighborhood, and she says she's complained to the city numerous times to do something about this vacant house.
I have called, I've been to the basement, I've been up to the mayor's office, I've been so many places down the city hall that they know me. Okay.
The city of Richmond keeps a list of vacant houses. Right now, there's some 1,700 of them. But why does the city allow people to keep vacant buildings?
It is not illegal to have a vacant property. However, the property owner should board any windows or any points of entry.
Trying to find the owners of vacant buildings is a challenge. For instance, the Clayton Investment Group is listed as owning 21 properties. But the problem is you can't find Clayton at this recorded address on Dickens Road, nor can you find a phone number for the company. Many of the houses or buildings are owned by private companies and even hospitals. We found this building on 9 Mile Road and this one on 27th Street are owned by Bon Secours. A hospital spokesman told us one building will be renovated into a neighborhood center, and the hospital is still exploring options for this empty building on 27th Street. And the agency that's in the business of providing shelter even owns vacant houses. The Richmond Housing Authority owns this house on 9 Mile Road and this vacant building on Boston Avenue. In all, RRHA has 32 properties on the list. We tried to find out what the Housing Authority plans to do with these old houses, but the agency hasn't responded.
There are no foundation issues.
Daryl Wiggins is a contractor who wants to buy this dilapidated house on Alvis Avenue. He thought it would be an easy purchase.
I've done a few what they call flipper houses. It's a bad word in some people's minds, but what it means is that you're going to buy the property do all the repairs necessary and bring it up to code and bring it up to a marketable position.
The house is in real bad shape, and the city has been putting notices on it to tell the owner to fix it up. Problem is, the owner died nearly 20 years ago.
The owner died in 1998, no taxes paid, no relatives, no anything. And when I questioned the city attorney, I asked him how long it might take to get it on the market, and they said maybe several more years.
You got to remember, Virginia is a property rights state, and the courts weigh heavily on the side of the property owner when it comes to these sorts of things.
John Walsh is Richmond's code enforcement operations manager. He says condemning a dilapidated vacant building doesn't happen overnight.
So we have to be very careful that we've done everything the court wants us to do before we make sort of an extreme move of either taking by either demolition or sale.
Well, since we questioned the city about this building here on 23rd Street, we learned that the city now has plans to place it in the hands of the city attorney's office for a tax sale. The same thing with the house that Wiggins wants to buy here on Alvis Avenue. Jonathan Costen, 8 News.
Now.
Hi, everybody, and happy Friday. Thank you for joining us. I'm Amy Lacey.
I'm Juan Condi. We begin tonight with news where you live in Richmond, where a woman's reporting major water meter issues that may have skyrocketed her bill.
And after many complaints, the city is now addressing the issue. This is all happening here on Gordon Avenue. Our 8 News reporter Jonathan Costen is there live with the latest. Jonathan?
Hey folks, crews just left here a few moments ago to fix this leaking water meter. Of course, the woman who lives in this house here on Gordon Avenue is glad that it's been fixed, but there's still a problem. She says she has to pay for all this water that's been wasted. Are you paying for that water?
Yes, I'm paying for this water. Just paid $175.98 for 1 month.
Shelly Knight is furious. She lives on Richmond's Gordon Avenue, and she says for over 1 year, she's had issues with the water meter leaking in her front yard. And she says for more than a year, she's been paying the city for the water that's running off onto the grass and street. Miss Knight says last week she went to City Hall to pay her bill, and she says a clerk told her
she was going to send a technician out here because my bill should not be this much for a single dwelling house with only 1 toilet. 1 bathroom, 1 toilet.
So eventually workers came to her house to investigate.
They can come for me, I said, because I'm the hair raiser. I'm not playing with them because I've had this problem before.
Well, I did talk to the city officials late this afternoon, and they told me that they will eventually get with me. They won't talk to me specifically about Shelly Knight's case, but they will tell me how they handle these issues. Reporting live, Jonathan Costen, 8 News.
News where you live in Richmond. A woman calls 8 News after her water bill skyrocket. The problem is a leak in her water meter, but what is the city doing about it? Our 8 News reporter Jonathan Costen is live now with details on this. Jonathan?
Hey, when you walk in front of Shelly Knight's house, you need a decent pair of boots because the ground is soggy, not because of the rain, but because of a leaking water meter. More than 1 year ago, Shelly Knight decided to do away with something many of us take for granted.
I stopped washing my clothes. I go to the laundromat to this day and wash clothes because I want to see if it's going to be a difference in my water bill, and it has not.
Here's the problem. Miss Knight says for over a year, she's had issues with the water meter leaking water in her front yard. Are you paying for that water?
Yes, I'm paying for this water.
She says her water bills are high, but she has to keep paying them or else. Why? If you don't pay, they
just shut it off.
And then what happens?
You be without water until you pay it.
And then what they do to your house if you don't have any water?
Well, you will be condemned if you don't have any water. They will condemn your house because you have to have water.
Well, we do have some good news. City crews were out here and they did repair the leaking meter, but Shelly Knight is still upset because you got to keep in mind she's been paying for this water that's been wasted for over a year, and she's wanting to know if she'll be reimbursed for those excessive water bills. We did reach out to the city. They did say they will talk to us about their city policies, but they won't talk to us specifically about this case. We'll keep you posted. Reporting live, Jonathan Costen, 8 News.
And we welcome you to 8 News at 6. I'm Christina Ferrick.
I'm Juan Condi. Our top story tonight, gun sales appear to be surging in the Commonwealth.
In the aftermath of the mass shooting in San Bernardino, gun control, of course, a hot topic. Our 8 News reporter Jonathan Costen joins us now with more details. Jonathan?
Well, Christina, state police tell us since the San Bernardino attack, they've conducted more than 13,000 background checks. So we're talking about more than 4,000 more checks conducted this year, this time last year. For the past few days, the parking lot at Bob Moat's Sports Shop has been full. And when you walk inside, it's crowded with customers. And the deliveries can't come in fast enough.
It has been very hectic. People were lined up waiting for things faster than we could even get to the paperwork.
These guns are all easy to handle, lifetime warranties. So.
Dave Hancock has been selling guns here for nearly 4 decades. And without hesitation, he'll tell you why he's been busier than ever. People are buying guns for protection.
That's the primary reason, is for their own defense.
Jesus wanted his disciples to have a sword to defend themselves.
Hancock agrees with Liberty University's president, Jerry Falwell Jr., that students should legally arm themselves on campus.
Why? Because nobody's going to be dumb enough to go to Liberty University and try anything now, because they know that the kids are carrying guns, the legal ones.
Amen.
The ones that are old enough.
I believe in that, absolutely.
Well, the woman who shouted amen is customer and grandmother Betty Bradshaw.
Because I believe in that. Read the Bible. The Bible will tell you this. We are to protect ourselves. Absolutely. And I do believe in that. Absolutely do.
This is one of the most popular.
What is it?
It's a little 380 because you can just drop it in your pocket.
380s, 9mm, and shotguns are in hot demand.
Criminals know what that sound is in the middle of the night. That says, I do have a gun and I will shoot you. And that's usually followed by, oh hell, and they're out of there.
Carolyn Smith purchased her first shotgun today.
We have handguns, but we just feel like we need something to take care of maybe more than one person at a time. That is definitely why we're here.
Well, because of what happened?
Because of all the terrorism. And we just never know what's going to come up.
Well, the threat of terrorism, once again, according to the manager, that is the reason why gun sales are up this week at Bob's Sports Shop. Jonathan Costen, 8 News.
It's so bad that I couldn't even keep my kids in the house. And I have a newborn son who's ready to be 2 months old, and I have a 3-year-old son.
New at 6, a Richmond mom says she and her family have been living with roaches. A lot of them.
She has complained and gone as far as not paying her rent, and now she is reaching out to 8 News. Today, 8 News reporter Jonathan Costen paid a visit to her Fairfield court home.
Jonathan, we understand you talked to both that woman and public housing officials.
That's right. Housing officials are looking into the problem, but here's another problem. The woman who used to live in this apartment behind me, well, she doesn't live there anymore.
Can't do nothing. So basically, I'm locked out.
27-year-old Patrice Ferran is a single mom of 2 children. She's also homeless. Today, she was evicted from a Fairfield court home, a home that's infested with roaches. Here are some photos and videos she recorded.
This is one of my downstairs closets. 3 roaches fell on my son this morning. And I was sitting right beside him, ready to pick him up and feed him his bottle. Sometimes I wouldn't even cook because of the fact that they was all on my stove waiting like, yeah.
Ferran admits she was behind in her rent.
I was using the rent money that they wanted. I was using trying to get rid of them roaches for my kids' sake.
Other tenants on her street say they also have roaches, but the problem is not as bad as Miss Ferran's home. We reached out to housing authority officials, and we ended up running into them as they inspected homes. And they admit there's certainly an infestation problem where Miss Ferran used to live.
The housing authority is aware that we have some issues. We just completed in June 100% assessment of all 4,000 of our public housing units, looking for the level of infestation.
We're told those homes that have a serious problem will be given priority, and they'll be baited with roach traps. And as far as where Miss Ferran will live now?
Well, I don't know. I really don't.
Well, the housing authority, they told me they can't go into why Ms. Ferran was evicted, but they usually give tenants at least 3 delinquency notices before they kick them out. And they also say if she needs a hand finding a shelter, they'll help her find a shelter. Reporting live, Jonathan Costen, 8 News.
Hopefully